Squirrel. No, just kidding. What's up, guys? It's Joe Troyer, and welcome to the Wednesday AMA. How's everybody doing today? What's up, David? What's up, Dennis? Derek? Lots of D's today. Double D's. I mean, three D's, triple D's. Frankie Allen, what's up, brother? Good to see you. George S. Welcome, welcome. John, welcome. Karen B, welcome, welcome. Mike, what's up, Mike? Good to see you, man. Mike Barreca. Thomas Wilson, just doing some random shout out. Sergio Chavez, welcome, welcome. Thomas Wilson, good to see you. All right, good stuff, good stuff. Hey, Joe Troyer, hey, Joe. All right, fantastic, good stuff. So, David Curtin, welcome. Dennis Barakos, welcome. Derek Drummond, welcome. Usman, I don't know why you're not an organizer already. I'll make you one now. All right, so I can hear myself. That's weird. All right, so guys, today's AMA is going to be a little shorter than normal. We won't be going the full hour today. So today's AMA is going to be a quickie. I got three things that we're going to run through. And to be honest, I'm just tired today, and I know that I can give you guys my best for three, no problem. Doing the typical 7, 8, 9 though, I'm not quite sure. This morning started off really early. I had a interview for the podcast. For those of you guys that haven't checked that out, definitely check out the new podcast. Absolutely like crazy content, I believe. Definitely not a typical quote unquote podcast, so to speak. Delivering a ton of value, and this morning's guest was awesome. So I'm not sure on the date for that we'll be releasing probably in the next couple weeks here. But the gentleman that I had on what was really cool to chat with. He essentially has transitioned from an agency into a products or services type of business. He does, frankly, some like affiliate type of stuff, like authority site type of model, but also builds software as well. So he's kind of built a holdings company, mostly around the digital marketing niche, I would say. He's got then kind of an authority site that's getting lots of traffic that he uses for content marketing and such, and to bring in all of the traffic or most of the traffic that then is used to sell all of the other products and services that they build. And so they got, software that they sell through there, and then I think they just released and rolled out some apps. And then they have kind of a review site, I believe, as well. So like super, super interesting model I've seen in our space, right? Like people pick up affiliate stuff and like build out an authority site, like something that gets a lot of backlinks, and then they add a monetization method to it, and they've done really well with it. I haven't seen somebody though that kind of has taken it to this level. So they got 10 different sites / pieces of software, so to speak, under the umbrella brand. And what's cool is that they've used the umbrella brand to promote everything, right? Because it's all in the same niche and vertical. So in the past, we've talked a lot about how like thinking about today and what you're doing today can leverage into what you're doing tomorrow. And for them, I think that they've done a beautiful job of this, because as they build up their audience, like they're not building up their audience for one site or for one monetization method. They're building up their audience for quite literally 10 monetization methods, because they got 10 different, revenue streams through 10 different sites. So guys, really, really interesting podcast. So definitely be on the lookout for the podcast. Give me a little bit of feedback in the chat. Those of you guys that are on and joining me live as we record this via GoToWebinar, give me a 1 in the chat if you've subscribed to the podcast or listened to any of the episodes so far. Help me get an understanding of who's who on the call. And really what I mean is let me know if you haven't yet, because then I got to give everybody a hard time because you haven't. So just amazing value and amazing content. So the whole angle with a podcast is like actionable takeaway type of content, um, meets Joe Troyer like grilling somebody for his own benefit for the podcast. Like, so you guys are getting like, if I had to corner somebody or get a consult call or get time one-on-one with somebody, these are the questions that I would ask. And so it's been an awesome time, and we've gotten crazy feedback from everybody that's been watching the podcast so far. So good stuff. All right, thank you guys, appreciate that. All right, so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and jump right into today's AMA Quickie. So the first question that we got says, how can I start an agency or social media marketing business? At the end of the day, guys, I really think it's the same thing. Coaching business, agency business, social media marketing business, they're all fundamentally the same, right? You're helping a client get from where they're at now to the result of, or their goal of where they're trying to go. Like, and you could be selling different services, you could be selling coaching, but at the end of the day, whatever it is that you're selling is what is designed to help people go from their current result to their desired result, right? Like at the end of the day, you could put a lot of different titles on it, from agency to social media marketing agency to marketing company, coaching, but at the end of the day, they all kind of mean the same thing to me when you boil it down. So how can I start an agency or SMMA business and get clients with a full-time job? So for those of you guys that have heard me answer this question many, many times, forgive me, we're going to try to answer this one really quick, short, and to the point. So my suggestion always when you're starting out new and you're green and you're coming into an agency or SMMA business, I think you're at the right place at the right time, because you're essentially getting paid to be an intern and getting paid to learn. You just got to make sure that you pick up a client or two so that you actually get paid to learn. So know that you're at the right place at the right time. And I think that there will always be a market for coaches and agencies and SMMA businesses, no matter how you define the business type, there will always be a need for it. People will always need help. People will always be busy and want expertise. So one of the questions that I get a lot is like, Joe, how long do you think this market's going to be around for? And I think that there will always be a market for us. So now that that's out of the way, ultimately, there are two main angles that I would suggest in terms of pitching prospects. And so angle number one is kind of reaching out and really reaching out in a consultative type of sale. So you're reaching out almost as an expert, and you're saying, here's where you're at. I see that you're struggling, and I think I can help. Would it make sense to jump on a strategy session or on a consultation? And I realize that is horribly misspelled. Consultative sale. And really, when you're doing this consultative sale, most people would teach you to like you're going to need to be an expert. And when you're just starting, right, and you're just getting into this business and you're trying to get clients and you got a full-time job, this might not work so well because you might not be able to showcase or endorse or feel like an expert, right? And at the end of the day, I want to push back on you a little bit with this, because you know, if you've picked up a course on whatever it is that you're going to help people do, whether again it's like social media marketing, whether it's pay-per-click, whether it's Facebook ads, and you spent dozens and dozens and dozens of hours going through the training, like by all means, compared to 99% or 99.9% of the rest of the world, I need you to understand you are already an expert, right? So like you can reach out this way, but I think that ultimately, once you get past the hurdle of thinking that you got to be an expert, I think it is a little bit harder to close deals for people that are brand new, reaching out and running a consultative sales process. So what I would rather see you do, and what I would suggest, and what I do suggest for people that are greener or are newer to running a coaching business, an agency business, a social media marketing agency, is to instead like lead with a problem slash opportunity, right? So do your research on a prospect, right? So pick a niche, right? Do your research, find a problem, right? And then show them that they have that problem and offer to fix it for them. Like, so lead with value. Show them that you're different from everybody else in the marketplace. Like you're willing to put some work in. And then ultimately, once you do this and you fix whatever the problem or opportunity is, right? Then transition into the consultative sale, right? Like by asking questions, right? So we're going to talk a little bit later about some of the questions that you should ask, but you should be thinking about where are you right now in business? Where are you trying to go, right? And then you're trying to fill the gap. And we'll talk about that in the next question that's coming up here. So the next question that we have was really like what are the best questions for me to ask an agency or social media marketing prospect, right? So if I have the opportunity, I'm in a meeting with them, or I send them an email, like what are the main questions that I should be asking? And at the end of the day, if you're running any type of consultative sale, right, you should be asking, I believe, kind of 9 core questions. And I believe that these 9 questions are really like the foundation, and they're the basics to running a consultative sales process. All right. So the 9 questions, if you will, are all listed here on the screen, and I'll take you through these. But you'll see that ultimately, at the end of the day, the goal is to get somebody that doesn't necessarily know us very well. They could be cold. They don't know a whole lot about us, to at the end of the call willing to fork up and invest some money in our coaching, our training, or our marketing services. So the first thing that I like to do when I start out one of these calls is I ask the prospect what made them join the call, right? So whether I'm doing outreach or whether they've came to my website, they found me, whether they're a referral, this question is good because this question gets them talking. And this question turns the table a little bit. Instead of them just grilling you from the get-go, you're able to turn the tables and get them to really start opening up from the beginning of the conversation. And a consultative sales process should be 80 to 90% your prospect talking and 10 to 20% you talking. Understand that you're not going to make a sale in a consultative type of sales environment if the roles are switched. Okay, so this can be hard if you're not used to running a sales process. You can feel like you're talking way too much. Okay, but you got to figure out some ways and some methods to turn the table, so to speak, to get your prospect to open up. And so this first question is a great way to set the tone and to get your prospect talking right away. Okay, so what made you join today's call? And typically they'll be like, oh, I need help with my marketing, right? Or they'll say, I really need a coach, or I need help with my social media marketing, right? And I want to push upon you to keep asking why, and to keep asking why until this conversation kind of gets uncomfortable. Because as you keep asking why, you're going to get closer and closer to the root issue, the root problem, and the root opportunity that you have. You're going to learn why it's important that the prospect solves the issue that they're coming to you for. Okay, so a very real example of this, just the other day, I was on a consultation helping somebody with their SEO strategy. And at the beginning of the call, right, I started it off like, what made you reach out to me? Why are we having this conversation today about SEO? And the first couple of questions is like, oh, well, I need help with my SEO. And it's like, well, why? Well, my organic search presence isn't very good. Okay, well, why? Right? And I just kept asking why. And it got awkward for a little bit. But by me asking why so many times, I got to the root issue. Okay, so guys, the root issue is they had no organic presence. It was all paid traffic, and they're getting ready in the next 12 to 18 months to sell their business. And they want to be able to check the box that they have organic traffic, right? And that's part of kind of the equation for them and the multiplier that they're going to get when they go to sell the business. And so there were some other things that were important. Their website kind of sucks. They need some help with that. They want some on-page help, but really at the end of the day, they just want their prospects that are interested in buying that business to be able to find them in kind of the major keyword search phrases. So I was able to figure out what makes this buyer tick simply by asking this first question: what made you join today's call, right? What's the reason that we're on this strategy session? And then by me just keeping digging and asking why. So the interesting part about this is because I kept asking why, I learned that they're trying to sell the business. So folks, if somebody's trying to sell a business and they're going to be getting a multiplier on their traffic and revenue and sales, does my help with marketing, does that help equate to a bigger buyout number? Right? Do my services become more valuable or less valuable? They obviously become more valuable. Right? So not only do I understand what's making them tick, but now I understand that I'm going to be able to charge a healthy premium for me helping them because they're getting a much bigger return than I had initially intended or that I had initially thought on the investment that they'd be making with me. So if you're joining me live, give me a 2 in the chat that makes sense. And you got a little aha moment there, like, yeah, man, I really got to press that why at the beginning. For everybody watching on YouTube land or on the blog after this gets posted, and you're not live, I'd love to see your feedback anyway. Let me know in the chat. That'd be great. All right, good stuff. Cool. So then, like, I start digging in. So what made you join today's call? We keep asking why till it gets super awkward and we just can't do it anymore. then I want to talk about advertising, like or SEO. If they're hitting me up for SEO specifically or pay-per-click specifically, like my goal is to zoom out a little bit. Like, tell me, Mr. Prospect, like what's worked in terms of advertising. Tell me what hasn't worked. And again, the goal is to get them talking, and you're going to start to understand through these questions what type of a prospect you have in front of you. Are they going to be a good prospect? Are they going to be a good customer? Are they the type of customer that you want? Are you going to get along with them, right? Like, do you want a relationship with them? And ultimately, at the end of the day, like, these are all important things that you should know and that you should be considering in terms of qualification, right? Like, should I pitch my service to these people, right? Or to the person that's on this call. So if you're talking with a prospect and you're like, what's worked in your marketing? And they're like, nothing has worked. And you're like, what hasn't worked? And they're like, everything. Is that a prospect that you really think that you should be pitching services to? Does that make sense? Is that a prospect that you think you should be pitching services to? You better be saying hell no in the chat, or at least in the back of your head, right? If nothing's working or has worked in terms of advertising, like, you don't ever want to be a business's last hope, right? Like, that puts way too much unneeded pressure and angst on your shoulders that you don't want to be dealing with. So then what we want to do is we want to identify the goal, right? And every business has goals. And if they don't have a goal, that there's a problem, right? Like, what's the goal for the next 3 months? What's the goal for the next 9 months? Like, where are you guys trying to get? Like, what's the vision? And how are you guys going to get there? If they don't have this, again, like, is this really the best prospect for you? Like, they got to have some goals, and they got to be able to conceptually talk about this at least high level. They might not know exactly how they're going to get there, but they should be able to say, like, my goal in the next 3 months is to add this many members, or to increase our bookings per day to this amount, and this is what it's going to do for me, right? This is why. If not, like, again, I want you to really challenge yourself and the prospect, and really think in the back of your head, is this the best use of your time, and is this the right customer, right? Are they gonna quite literally, like, fall out the back end, meaning like quit as fast as they came in the front door, meaning like, you know, contacting you? And that's what you don't want for your business. If your agency, your social media marketing agency, your traditional agency, your coaching business, if it can't keep customers and they just churn, I got to tell you guys, there's nothing worse than that in the entire world, right? Like, you're literally running on a treadmill and getting nowhere. So then, like, once they give us that goal, we got to identify and we got to come up with a gap. Right? And what I mean is we got to get them to realize that they're not going to get to where they want to go without something changing. Right? We need ideally an agreement and a buy-in from them, and it needs to be blatant, right? That they aren't going to get to their goal with what they're doing now, and that they obviously have to do something different or in addition in order for them to get to their goals. Okay, then ideally the next step is we have to get the agreement that what you have to offer, whether it's a coaching offer, whether it's a training program, whether it's a done for you marketing service, that what you're doing is going to help them fill the gap between where they're at now and where they're trying to go. And it doesn't have to be the only thing that's going to help fill the gap. It doesn't have to solve the entire gap, so to speak, right? But you got to get them to agree that what you have is going to help them at least start filling that gap. And if you got that last piece, then it's time to ask for the sale. So depending on what you have and how complex it is, right, that agreement that what you have is going to fill the gap, like the second to last bullet there, like that time can differ. Like that can be like 5 minutes to talk about that, right? That could be 30 minutes to talk about that. And that really depends on how complicated what you sell is. It also depends on if you've given any type of training, content, webinar, or any type of training on the front end before they've gotten on that phone call with you or the strategy session with you, right? And it also depends upon the prospect, right? Like you can be selling the easiest thing to conceptually grasp and understand, right? And you could get stuck on the third to last bullet there, agreement that they won't get there with what they're doing now, right? And that what you have is going to fill the gap. Like you could get stuck there for 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 45 minutes just to get that breakthrough before you can finally ask for the sale. So as you keep running these strategy sessions and you keep running them for the same types of products and offers, you're going to get better at question asking and knowing where to go in a conversation to get to the end result faster, right? To get to the gap faster, to get to the goal faster, to get them to really open up and explain their business, right? And so I need you guys to really think about this 9-step process as a process, and that you're not going to become an expert in the process overnight. But if fundamentally you can take these 9 questions as a base, this can be the outline for your strategy session or for your consultative sale that you use to lead your prospect from being brand new and green and not knowing you from Adam, right, to closing an hour later on the spot for $1,000 to $3,000 to $4,000, $5,000 a month recurring residual. Any questions real quick for everybody joining live on kind of these 9 best questions, so to speak? Does this make sense to everybody? Give you guys quick a chance to ask a question, and then we're going to move on to the third and final topic for today's quickie AMA. All right, cool. So a bunch of good questions like, thank you, this is good, this is gold, I'll start using it, etc. I want you guys to conceptually, a good practice, if you're going to take this and start using it, is think about the last time you had like a meeting with a prospect, right? And I want you to think about this outline, so to speak, and these questions and this flow of a call, because that's really what it is. And I want you to think about where your prospect got stuck. I want you to think about what didn't happen, right? Start to make a synapse, start to make a connection between why a deal went well or didn't go well based on this outline, And I think it'll really help you guys take your closing skills to the next level. All right, so last but certainly not least, I wanted to talk to you guys about local service ads and Google's local service ads. And so if you do a search in Google, let's see, digital triggers, Google local search ads. I've been getting a ton of freaking questions about the Google local service ads. I actually didn't even call that the right thing, but Google found it for me. Thank you, Google. We've been getting a ton of questions about the Google local service ads. Like, what are they? Where are they available? What are the niches? Are they important? Should I be telling my prospects and clients to do them? Should I be not? Like, Joe, what's your opinion? And so I wanted to walk you guys through kind of some of the high level details. I'm not going to sit here and read this post word for word, but I wanted to walk you guys through this post a little bit. And we keep updating this, by the way. So if this is a good resource for you, I would definitely bookmark it, because as we find new locations coming on, or new cities or areas coming on, and new niches now rolling out Google local service ads, we definitely update this. And so if you're looking at it and you see a category that gets rolled out, please let us know so we can keep the list up to date and fresh for you guys. But essentially, Google local service ads were called Google Home Service ads, I believe. They were also, they've been referred to as like Google Guaranteed, and simply, they've been referred to as Google Guaranteed because right up here in the screenshot, right, when you search for Google, right, these people have the Google Guaranteed badge. And so the thing is like, this is super interesting, I feel like, because they're front and center, right? Like, these local service ads are above the pay-per-click ads. So you got to know, and we got to take away, that they're getting lots of attention, right? Like, they're in the most prime real estate for Google. So that's what sparks my attention, is the opportunity there. And it's a big opportunity being at the top of the page there. So when you click on one of these listings, right, ultimately, or click for more, ultimately, this is what you see, is kind of a list of more Google guaranteed vendors. And you can drop down into different categories and zip codes. Like, this is what you see for locksmiths, right? You can say vehicle lockout or building lockout, right? So that the user can get down category wise, and then zip code wise, but then that's really all the filtering that's available, right? And so I did vehicle lockout, and I believe this is in South Beach, this zip code. And at the time of me doing this, there were only 2 locksmiths available through Google Guaranteed, available to do a vehicle lockout in South Beach, Miami, like the ultimate tourist destination in Miami. So I thought that was interesting, right? So then you can see their business information, you can look at their reviews, and ultimately this looks like essentially like a mini GMB or Google My Business listing at the end of the day, right? So you can put in your service area, your background, your licensing info goes in there. Obviously your reviews go in there. They got this new kind of highlights section, so to speak, in there as well. And then currently, this is the list of all the markets where Google local service ads are live. And so you see that this list keeps expanding at all times. So I'll make sure whenever we update or upload this YouTube video and this goes on the blog, that we put in a list, a link to this actual post, so you guys can see this list as it updates. But what I want you guys to take away is, like, this used to be something that was just in a couple of cities. Like, this is rapidly expanding, right? In California is definitely one of the earlier adopters. Florida was one of the late adopters, right? Where I live, South Florida. But I mean, even look at just in Florida, what's live and what's available. I mean, the list is getting really big. Like, these are, I don't see Jacksonville here, but besides that, like, these are all the major metros almost, so to speak, in Florida. So definitely something to be on the lookout for. Like, this is taking over. At first, I was a little resistant to really jumping in myself and learning about local service ads, because it was just it was a beta from Google, and they confirmed it was a beta and they were playing with it. But what captured me and made me really look into it was first the opportunity, right? It's showing up at the top of Google. And then second, like they just keep expanding more and more and more and more locations. It's getting ridiculous. Like, so I don't think that this is really a quote unquote anymore. I mean, it's not in every city, but I mean, this is something that you guys should know as consultants, as marketers. And so as of right now, as of us doing this video and as of our last update, these are the list of niches or categories that are triggering local service ads. So you got a restriction down to particular cities and areas, and then you have as well it niche down to a list of different niches. So not everything is available. So you got like air duct cleaning, appliance repair, auto glass, auto service, carpet, electrician, event planners, garage doors, HVAC, handyman, home improvement, house cleaners, junk removal, and the list, I mean, just keeps going, as you guys can see. But from what I see so far, I mean, I would say 99% or more of the people here are really like home service listings. Like home service listings. So at the end of the day, I know that Google has explicitly expressed interest in essentially Yelp or not Yelp, in Home Advisor's type of business model, right? Like getting into the pay per lead game, so to speak. And I think that this is their first stab at doing that, right? I mean, that's ultimately how this system works. As of right now in Canada, what we've seen is that, HVAC, locksmiths, and plumbers are available, but we haven't seen any updates up until this point. So again, like I believe that the reason that Google is doing this is like companies like Home Advisor and so many more pay-per lead and pay-per-call companies have leveraged Google for so long and for like decades and decades, right? To essentially not decades and decades to be realistic, but I mean a decade plus, right? To get traffic to then do a pay-per lead or a pay-per sale type of platform. I mean, even look at like Yelp, right? Like Yelp's traffic forever came from like Google primarily. Like that was the only advertising they were doing. When you look at like Home Advisor, it was the same thing, right? Now that they're like a behemoth and they're so freaking big, right? Like now they're running TV ads and everything else, but that wasn't how they got started, right? They got started from search. So I think that Google's gotten envious, right? Like they say that the home service industry alone, right, is a $500 billion industry. And I think that they've been seeing all these people and all these sites tapping into their traffic and building these crazy big companies, right? It seems like they're just wanting to capitalize on the revenue that Home Advisor and Angie's List and Amazon Home Services and everybody else are doing, right? And from some patents and from some content that I've seen and that I've read up on, I think that Google has an even more kind of devious, so to speak, plan long term, but only time will tell. I believe that Google wants to play middleman and kind of get rid of the companies as well, right? And be able to go directly to the contractor or directly to the technician, so to speak, and get rid of the contractor. With some of the patents that I've seen and some of the pieces of content, I, I don't know where they'll go with it, but I think they at least have some really ambitious and I guess you could say devious plans long term. I mean, think of the taxi industry and Uber and the big disruption there. I think Google is looking at home services as a potential big play for that level of disruption in the industry and going directly to technicians versus to companies. So super, super interesting stuff. And if you see it like their acquisitions in terms of technology and them playing in like Google Home and them trying to be in the house and compete with Amazon Alexa. Like, I can't help but think that's exactly where they're going long term. So just my thoughts there. So what's the impact ultimately of Google local search ads? I think that ultimately they're taking away impression share from everybody else, right? I mean, look how far down Maps is now, right? Look how far down organic is now. And obviously they're shoving down their pay-per-click ads as well. So right now, what's getting the attention in local search, if it's available, is local search ads. So ultimately, impression share, and ultimately you could say as well, results and clicks and calls for Google ads and for Google Maps is ultimately going down because it's being taken away by Google local service ads. And when you look at it on mobile, it's even worse, right? Like, this is your mobile screen. Like, that's it. Like, quite literally, guys, that's it. Like, all that I have when I did a search for Miami locksmith on my iPhone, right? Brand new big screen iPhone is 2 responses and a call button, or 2 listings and a call button. So when you think about the impact that this is having on local search, like, guys, it's freaking big. So if you've seen clients where impressions are down or calls are down and they're in local service ads, that could be a correlation, right? Or they're in a niche and city that has them. It could definitely be a correlation. So how do you get into Google local service ads, and how does it work is really what I want to transition to and really walk through with you guys. At the end of the day, you're either going to get invited to play with local service ads, right? Or you're going to be sitting on the bench and waiting to join the notification list, depending on the niche that you're in and the city, right? AKA, is in your market, are the listings available? And Google right now is definitely rewarding first movers, right? The people that are jumping on this early are doing really, really well. And I'll share with you guys some case studies. This piece of content, this article in our research here, has been linked to by a lot of people out there, like Moz and Bright Local and Duct Tape Marketing, because we have some really good data on this and how it's working and how it compares. How much is it how much volume can you get compared to Google ads, and what's the cost versus Google ads? So we'll get into that. But just know that, like, if your prospects or your customers have an opportunity to get in on this, that you should be cheering them on, right? Because your goal, again, is to take them from where they are to where they want to go, and there's a gap, right? And folks, at the end of the day, Google is rewarding people jumping on local service ads in a big way. So essentially what happens, if it's in your market, you're able to apply, and they work with a third-party company that they contract to run a background check, and they run that in background and check on the business owner and all the business employees. And really, anyone who's going to visit a customer's home or office, they're going to be vetting, and then they're going to be checking licenses, and insurance is getting vetted. So it's not like a rinky-dink process. Are there people that are gaming the system? Yes, I do believe so. There are people that are really pay-per-call or lead gen people that are getting into local service ads and shouldn't be. And what I mean by that is, they are definitely not licensed, or they're maybe photoshopping some of their documents, because you can tell. So far, though, again, like, if you have the opportunity to get in here, your customers do, or anybody you're speaking with, please point them to this article or showcase this article, quote this article. I've seen lead prices from anywhere from $18 to $45 a lead so far. Now, obviously, over time, this number is going to continue to grow, right? Early adopters, I believe, of this program are going to be rewarded handsomely for jumping on board. Like, it's a bidding system at the end of the day, just like Google ads are and Google AdWords or pay-per-click, right? So the way that Google local service ads billing works is essentially the exact same as pay per lead is, or if you're running pay per lead, probably the exact same as your pay per lead business. So essentially, you set a weekly budget. Your ad spend then is going to fluctuate like crazy, and then you're going to get leads inside of the platform, and you pay per lead. Like that's it. Um, in terms of the ad ranking process, again, here you can see that in this example of Miami, there's 3 different listings here showing for LSAs. And it seems like to me so far that based on our research, there's 3 kind of big ranking factors, if you will, to showing up the largest amount of time. And that really is budget, proximity, and reviews. Okay, budget, proximity, and reviews. Like ultimately, guys, at the end of the day, does that sound familiar? Right? Like that sounds exactly like Google, right? Those ranking factors, it's like, yeah, this is what Google wants everywhere. Like customers to have a big budget with their platform, to be a good solution and be in proximity, and to have good reviews. So this matches up with everything else that we know about Google. There's a little bit of mystery in terms of location and how they show the ads as well. Like they say that the location is like the home city that the company is in, but there's something a little odd going on here. I don't really believe that because like not all of these companies are in San Diego. They're going to be in like suburbs of San Diego. So I'm not sure exactly how this piece is happening. But I think that there's some optimization, so to speak, that's happening in the location. So that kind of gets you guys up to speed on kind of local service ads in general. But folks, here's the mojo and here's the data that nobody else has. Here's how it's working now. Here's why it's important, and here's why you guys should know all about it. So I'm really fortunate to have some awesome freaking customers and customers who were willing to share with me and the rest of you, right? The rest of our customer base, what's going on with their local service ads. So first and foremost, if that's you and you participated and you helped, thank you so much. So one of the biggest questions we receive, right, about local service ads is like, what's the cost per lead compared to AdWords, right? Or how much volume is actually available, right? Like those are the 2 big things. And so I promise the customer not to share the exact location they're in and the exact vertical or category of their business, just to give them some anonymity. But let's be real, like when I originally did this post, there was only like, I think, I don't know, like 10 markets or something local service ads were even in, right? And 5 categories or niches. So like if you want to be that black hat, gray hat person and put in a bunch of time and research, I'm sure that you can figure out the niche if you dig hard enough. So anyway, I want to share with you guys some data. So when we originally wrote this post, cost per acquisition numbers. So Google AdWords or Google paid ads, right? $50.90 for a raw phone call, right? Google local service ads, folks, you see that number, 18 bucks. So if you're talking with a prospect, guys, I don't really think it's fair to hold this thing back. Like we gotta share, right? Our job is to help people go from their current situation to their desired situation and to fill that gap. For me, I think that local service ads is one hell of a way to fill that gap. Look at the difference in cost there. So again, I think that it's not always going to be like this. I think long term it will cost more than pay-per-click ads, right? Because like they're taking all the complexity out of pay-per-click. So one of the follow-up questions I get then is like, Joe, if somebody's doing local service ads, should they be doing pay-per-click or should they be doing Google ads? And yes, they should, right? If they're still looking for more leads, then yes, it's a solve to their problem, and it's helping them again fill the gap between where they're at right now and where they want to be. So then let's talk about volume, right? Like how does Google AdWords compare to Google local service ads? So when I did this, we did it again for the previous month. So Google Ads, 37 leads in a month. Google local service ads, 102. And those were billable. That was after Google had already scrubbed and gotten rid of 20 what they would call like bad leads from the account. And so you can see this is kind of a screenshot of those 102 leads inside the account. And again, this was December when we did this. And so are Google local service ads worth it? 100%, right? When you consider the results, right, at the end of the day, Google AdWords or Google Ads was 282% more expensive than local service ads. And local service ads drove 275% more leads than Google Ads. So guys, if you have the opportunity to help a customer with this, definitely should be helping a customer with Google local service ads. And again, you guys definitely go check out this article. And I definitely think like it's one of those pieces of content that we're going to continue to update and upgrade over time as we continue to get more data and we continue to have more rollouts. And so I would highly recommend that you bookmark it as it's a resource you're going to want to stay up to date with. So that's it for today's AMA session. I hope you guys enjoyed. I called it a quickie, right? But we're at 3:50, so we're almost 50 minutes into today's AMA. Good stuff. Did you guys enjoy today? Little different topics. I think LSA definitely something that you guys needed to know about. Derek says, yeah, packed. Wow, Al says, all right, good stuff. So thank you guys for showing up for another Wednesday session. Have a freaking fantastic week. If there's anything that I can help you with, obviously you know where to ask. Go to digitaltriggers.io/AMA and ask your question. If you have like a billing issue or something that like, you know, the rest of the support team here at Digital Triggers can help you with, just go ahead and email us at support@digitaltriggers.io. Everybody have a fantastic week. Sayonara, everybody.